Okay.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining our live broadcast on She is Successful. If you don't already follow our page, make sure you hit that follow and that like page, and make sure you share because today we have a very important topic today. Today, we are talking about human trafficking and specifically human trafficking within the African American community. A lot of times we do always associate human trafficking with African American women or men. But we're here today to let you know that this is a real and serious issue that is going on, and we want to bring awareness. Today's guest is Natashia Williams. She is a survivor of human trafficking, and we're going to play a brief introductory video. So here's the video so you can learn a little bit about our guest today, Natashia
Is
Williams.
Wilson Shate, and my trafficker was my mother. My mother convinced me at the age of 14 that by having sex with men and collecting the money, I will be able to help her out financially.
We want to welcome you, Natasha Wilson. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are so happy to have you here. How are you today?
Fine. Thank you so much for inviting me. It means so much. Thank
No
you.
problem. I'm Natia, and we have our other host, Michelle,
Hi.
and then we have our host, Miss Lavita. And we all want to welcome you today. The reason why we brought you on is because we feel like this is a very important issue, and you reached out to us on Facebook and you wanted to share your story. And just looking at, looking you up online and seeing all the different interviews that you've done, I first want to just let you know that you are very brave for coming out and sharing your story with all of these. People that are going to be viewing this today. And so, once again, I would like to welcome you. And I would like you to do a brief introduction and tell the audience a little bit about you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Like you said, my name's Natashia. Sometimes I go by Wilson Shante. It's kind of like when Beyonce has Sasha Fierce. So sometimes you might see if you look at my stories and things like that, like in my book, you will see Wilson Shante. Like you said, I am a survivor of human slash sex trafficking. I was trafficked ever since I was 14, all the way up to, I want to say like 33, 34 years old. I know people watching is like, how would you traffic all the way to 33, 34? But it can happen. Um, so I am the first person in my family. I'm originally from Las Vegas. I am the first person in my family to leave Las Vegas. I am the first person in my family to attend college. When I left Las Vegas after being rescued, they relocated me to Chattanooga, Tennessee, where I went back to school. Went back to school
Oh,
to get my
good,
GED, and
good.
I obtained my GED and learned how to read because I have struggling with reading. I've been to school, I want to say like eighth, ninth grade. I went to high school, but I wasn't going to high school to learn. I was going to high school to work.
Okay.
So I read at like a fifth grade level.
Oh, wow. So since we're talking about that, take us back a little bit, Natasha. Let's talk about like your childhood and your upbringing. Like, how was that growing up? Did you say you grew up in Las Vegas?
Yes, I was
Okay.
born
So
and
how
raised
was
in
that?
Las Vegas. I was raised by my great grandparents, and it was five of us. I have three brothers and a sister, so it was five of us. Uh, it was it was hard, to be honest. It was hard for me because I had a different last name than my brothers and sisters. So they used to say like they just adopted you or they just dropped you off. So it was hard at the time. Our mom was in and out of prison till the age of 14, 15. So we always knew our mom, but we knew our mom through the class or the telephone calls or when we see her on the streets or when she stopped by, things of that nature. So it's not like we did not know our mother. She was never around. So our great grandparents raised us.
So you would see your mom like and there growing up, and did you have like a relationship with your father, or how did that work
Not
out?
at
Like
the
how?
time. I didn't know who my father was. I didn't find out who my father was until I was like 23, 24.
Okay.
Um, he was walking down the street literally, and my mom pointed him out like, "There go your daddy." I thought she was joking, and to find out he
Oh,
was my daddy.
okay.
I never
Okay.
really knew. I heard of him um, because I heard my brothers always talking. My older
Hmm.
brothers is the ones that always was in the street, so they knew a little bit more of family history than what I did. But I didn't
Hmm.
really was introduced to my father until I was like 23, 24.
Okay.
Once we was introduced, we hit it off like he's been around all life.
Okay.
So uh,
Okay.
so that was good. It was so crazy that my mom introduced to my dad, and probably like a month later, my mom overdosed and passed
Oh,
away.
I'm sorry to hear that.
So yeah.
So, so take us through. So you grew up being raised by your great grandparents. Now, when did your mother come into your life? Like when you like to introduce you into sex trafficking? Was that like at the age of 14, or was it like a did she gradually like introduce you to style? Like how did that happen?
Well, mom, she gradually introduced me. She just didn't come in my life and say, "Hey," it was she grew me. That's like what the pimps do it. So my mom grew me. She made it seem like she wanted to be a mom. She messed up. Give her a chance. She just out of the penitentiary. Um, so me and my brother is the only two out of all five of us went to go stay with my moms. Um, she wanted us to give her a chance, so I decided I wanted to give her a chance to get to know her. She was doing good for, I want to say, the first couple of months. Getting off drugs and got us somewhere to stay and try to put us in school. So I thought she was going to be doing good. I really can't really say what I thought she was going to do because I didn't know her. I just know of her and what I heard about her. So
Okay.
months went on, and my mom started getting back on drugs. So we started struggling with the rent and the light bill and things of that nature. So I did not want to go back to my grandparents. My grandparents, I love them, but it was just like I want to be with my mom. So I wanted to
Right.
see what can I do to help. So I thought like maybe if I sell candy or something like that. So that's how she gradually grew me to say, well, if you can sell candy, you can try something else. So
Okay.
that's
So
how
for
she.
those viewers out here that are not familiar with human trafficking, can you kind of break it down for them just a little bit so they know exactly what we're talking about?
Yes, it's so funny because it took me to be a survivor for me to learn what was human trafficking. The whole time I thought I was just prostitute. That's what I thought it was the whole time. But when I found out human and sex trafficking is a person is like forcing you to do things that you're not willing to do for a fee, for a payment, for their benefit. So if it's a payment or it's a benefit of them for drugs or if it benefit for them somehow, that's what it basically is. I
Okay.
never knew that. I thought for the longest time that
Yes.
I was just a prostitute
Okay. So you're
until
14. You're 14. 14.
yes.
And so without like being too like what was that first like were you scared like that first time? Did you know exactly what you were getting into, or did you have questions like why is mommy telling me to do this? Like what was like your thought process? Like just if you could just take the viewers through like the grooming process and what kind of transpired.
Well, to be honest, it wasn't really a thought. I seen prostitution. I want to say all my life because where I lived in the area, the poverty area, you always see it. So you would know like what that person is doing, or and then I heard what my mom was doing. So once she started having different people over, so I just thought whatever to be with my mom. Like I said in the video, I just wanted to be with my mom and for my mom to love me. So the first time was not hard because it wasn't sex the first time. And to be honest, I was already not a virgin because my brother took my virginity. So I didn't know what
Oh my
sex
God. So
was.
you're a double victim. You're a
Yeah,
double.
so but I knew it was something because if my brother can do it, why does it matter? So when my brother took my virginity and I told my mom, she didn't believe me. So it was just like, well, maybe that's what it's supposed to be and move on. And I think
Okay.
that's what
So
hardened my heart about it. So when
yeah.
I started getting active, sexually active in selling myself, I just put a hard shell over it. Like, whatever. I tried to tell somebody, nobody didn't believe me. So let's just move on.
So at 14, were you still in school when all this was going on? Were you
I
still
was in
attending
school for a
school?
little while until I just stopped going to school because we had got evicted. My mom had us moving here and was living with family members going here. So I was just going with the flow and just wasn't going to school at the time.
Okay. So emotionally, like at that time, for a 14-year-old, maybe going back in hindsight, maybe, when you were in the process, you didn't really realize what was really happening. But what is like the emotional trauma? Like, what are the effects of that? Like being a 14-year-old. And did you know that you were doing something that other 14-year-olds were not doing? Or did you see your family set up as like atypical? Or how did you view that, with like your peers?
I stopped hanging around with my friends. My mom restricted us to have not having friends, so I stopped even having friends. I wasn't even going to school at the time, so I wasn't even having friends. And emotionally, like I said, my mom didn't believe me, so I didn't have any more emotions. I
Were
just
you
whatever.
scared, or did you feel fear, or
No,
you
no.
really took?
Um, my fear went out the window that episode with my brother.
Okay.
Um, Nobody wasn't worried about how I felt or what was my say so if I wanted to do this or not. It went just came in my room and go. So
Okay.
I just pushed my feelings down. I didn't even care because I was like, nobody cared about me, so who cares? Just move on. And then when I started uh, to get a hang of it, I felt like the men that was buying me, they loved me. So I was like, oh, okay. So the more I'm going to put myself out there and the more they pay for me, that's the more attention I was getting. So you got to understand, I'm like 14, 15, and that's the only, I'm not saying my great grandparents never loved me, but it was just like hard love. So I didn't know what it was. So getting that attention from different men at the time, I just felt like it was love at the time. And then me and my mom grew closer. Our bond grew closer. So I was like, so this making me be around my mom and having a bond and be with my mom, I'm on board. So that's what made me happy. So
Now, now I'm sorry. During that time, did you maintain a relationship with your great grandparents?
yes, I did.
And
Um,
were they aware of what was going on, and they were not aware?
they was not aware. I did not tell on my mom. No.
Okay.
The reason why I didn't tell on my mom because my mom already had a bad rep in the family. So I didn't
So
want
you
them to
were
be like,
willing to
you
do
told me so.
anything just to stay in your mom's good
In presence,
graces
yes,
and
yes,
stay in her presence.
yes.
Okay. So I guess my next question is, like, at what age did you feel like this isn't for me? Like what point, like what was the breaking point where you just felt like I can't do this any longer?
I think my breaking point was like around like 28, 29, because I was getting older. I wasn't still known as traffic. I started to introduce other young women to the lifestyle. So when I was like 28, 29, and I started to introduce other young women, I think it was to the point that I was like, man, wow. I started having some type of feeling for it, like this is wrong. But I was too embarrassed to go back to, I guess, what normal society was. I was like, I don't have no education. Um, I don't have no job skills. I'm on my own and I have a baby to raise now. So I was like, I better do what I have to do. So I just started pushing down. Um, I think my other breaking point, like I said, that I went all the way up to I was 33 is because when I was like 30, 31, I got my job broken and put in the trash.
Oh my
And a
gosh.
homeless man found me. Yeah, so I think it wasn't more about me. It was more about how I felt when I found my mom dead. All I thought about is, what if that happens to me and that information has to get back to my child? And I think
Absolutely.
that was the breaking point because even though I know what my mom was doing, but I'm the one that found her deceased in the room with a needle in her arm. So I know how that affected me. So
Now,
I,
at what point did you realize that she was using?
oh, my mom been using all her life. My grandma already told us that. And we used to see my mom on the streets.
And so that was something that wasn't like a surprise to you. You were just used to
No,
kind of seeing that growing
yeah,
up.
yeah, my mom been on heroin all our life, so it doesn't matter. She never hid it from us. My mom would shoot us in front of us. It didn't, but it was still our mom, so we knew our mom was on drugs. We used to give her our last dollar when we see her on the streets at the store or in the neighborhood. Yeah, it was never no secret. Everybody knew about my mom.
Can you share with us the process, I guess, of how you actually got freed? Was it that you went back to school, or how did you finally get free from that life?
I met a lady named Christine Marie. She had an organization that she just started because she was a trafficking victim herself. And every day I just was talking to her and she asked to for me to model for her. And I thought it was just like, what? All I thought was like, okay, whatever. And once eventually I started modeling for her, coming around her, seeing the difference, that's when I just made the decision. Like, and then my father passed away. So,
Okay.
and before he passed away, he was just like, take care of your business, get your son, because I lost custody of my child. Like, get your son back, take care of your business, do what you're supposed to do. Like, you know, you don't want to be like us. And it just stuck with me. So, more I was around Christine and knew that it was a different life. Because if you're around your same environment, you're going to be
Mhm.
versatile to your same environment. So, I never knew nothing outside of that. So, when I met Christine and seeing it was different, I just wanted to take a chance. It was a big chance because I went from meeting Christine, meeting other organizations. Actually, no, me and my son was on the Greyhound bus, and that's how fast it went.
And that's how fast it went. Now, during
Yeah.
this process, did your father know about your lifestyle, and was he aware of what your mom, the history of what she
Yes.
was having you do? And then what was his opinion about that?
He never knew the history of what my mom had me do when I was younger. We never
Mhm.
spoke about that. But as I got older, I was just open with him about what I do, and he was just basically saying like, get your stuff together. You don't want to be like your mom. He know another version of my mom that I didn't know. So that's how I used to say, make him proud, get your stuff, because I'm my dad only child, and I only have one child. So he's like, at least make my son proud. But I can't make nobody else proud. So I just
Well,
felt like,
I'm happy to hear that that you were able to get out of that lifestyle, because it's a lot of ladies out there that are probably struggling to this day, trying to find a way out. And so at least you had your father there to kind of encourage you and walk you through that process. But another question aside from that, like once you got out of that lifestyle and got into, you moved away, was there any type of shame that you carried with that? Or how did that, how did you deal with that? Did you have to go through therapy? Like, how did you kind of overcome the trauma behind that?
for me, it was a little backwards. It wasn't the shame of what I did, it was the shame of the new person that I was going to be. That's what I had to go to therapy for. I know people like, what, you didn't go to therapy for what you experienced? No, I went to therapy because I was like, who is this new person? Who am I supposed to be now? What am I supposed to do now? The new person, the new life, I took a toll on me more than what I was doing when I was out there being sex trafficked. The new life is what scared me because I was like, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know. who I was as a person. I didn't know what I was supposed to do. That's what scared me. That's what made me go to therapy because I didn't like it. You got to go from 14 and all the way to like 30 some years old. People are paying for you. So now you going to, am I ugly? Anybody looking at me? That was hard. Me being ashamed of what I did, no. I always
No.
did my own thing. I never was a follower, so I didn't care if nobody want to be my friend or see me. It's plenty of times friends probably said oh, we seen you down there on the Blade. The Blade is where you be trafficked out over prostitutes go. Or we seen you down there. Or my uncle or my daddy said they paid for you. That never bothered me.
It
No,
never
what
bothered
bothered me
you.
is no, no. I know that sounds crazy because you'd be like, why? No, because at the end of the day, it's like I had to take care of myself. Nobody helped me take care of me. So who is you to tell me anything? You're gonna talk about me anyway, so I'm gonna give you something to talk about. I
Okay.
never cared. Up to this day, I still don't care what people say about why you telling your story or why you saying your brother did this. Why? So what? I don't care about that. What I had to go to therapy as far as I didn't know who I was as a woman, as a mother, as a person, because you for like over 20 some years somebody was telling me what to do, how to think, what to dress. So that's what's the hard part for me was that. And
Good.
I still struggle with it today. And I've been a survivor like 5 years and I'm still struggling today of low self esteem. People be like, why? Look what you survived. You're so pretty. But I still look in the mirror like, who is this person? I'm not pretty enough. Or this is that. That's what I still struggle every day. I can't speak for another survivor, another victim, because their trauma might be a little bit different from mine, or they could take their trauma a little bit different how I took mine.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So tell us a little bit. I'm going to back up a little bit because I know you mentioned your son. Now, did you have your son like when he was during that time when you were living that lifestyle? And
Yeah.
how did that work? That had to be very difficult.
To be honest, no. I had my son on purpose. I got pregnant with my son with his father at a young age at like 18 on purpose because I
Mhm.
was like, somebody's going to love me. I know that sounds selfish to have a child, but that's the
Mhm.
whole purpose I had my child. I was just like, I just need somebody to love me. And that's the only reason why I got pregnant on purpose. I didn't get pregnant by none of my Johns or any of my pimps. I got pregnant by a young man that had very strong family background.
Okay.
Um, I did. I really made sure that it wasn't just little homie from next door. No, I make sure that if I'm still in the streets, this family is going to help me take care of my son. And my son will be 21 in like 3 days, and
Oh,
he's still
wow.
yes, and he still stays with his father parents at this day.
Okay.
Ever since he was a baby, and he still stay in their house today. They still support him and raise him and help me, and yeah, and I love him for that. So that's the only reason why I had a child. I thought having a child would have I would have that unconditional love,
Mhm.
and it wasn't my son fault. I was not raised or nobody never taught me like that's not what a child is for. And when I
Mhm.
had him and it was just like, what's I just wanted him to love me right there. I'm like, what is this problem? He crying. He don't love me. So my grandma helped me raise him. My auntie and them helped me raise him. Then I was just
Okay.
ended up going to penitentiary and I was just like, somebody take him.
Oh,
Cause
so back up that part. Okay, so you ended up going into the penitentiary.
yes,
Was
I
that a
got locked.
result of the lifestyle of being
Yes.
in the trap? Okay. You want to talk
Yes.
a little bit about that part?
Yes, I had got in trouble in and out of jail for prostitution and drugs. I was on drugs real heavy. So I just kept getting in trouble, hanging out with the wrong crowd, wanted to fit in, trying to be around things, and just kept getting in trouble till the law finally caught up with me. Um, and I remember them knocking on my door. My son, I was trying to get my son dressed because I think he was about to go with his grandma or something. And I was indicted by the federal case. And I remember they came in and they handcuffed me through on the ground. My son was running around. My son
Mhm.
couldn't be no more than two. And the white police officer was like, shit, lock him up. His
Mm-hmm.
first instinct. He didn't even try to
Wow.
say, hey, do you have anybody to call? They just automatically think like, your mom's a fugitive, lock him up. He's gonna be next. I was
Yeah.
like, dang. It took the black police officer was like, I will give you one phone call. If
Okay.
this phone call doesn't answer, he's going to the state custody. And I made the phone call to my son's grandparents on his dad's side.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the first time I was shameful of who I was.
And how long were you actually in the penitentiary?
I just did a year.
A year. Okay.
Yeah.
And coming out of there, how was that transition like? So you lived this life from when you were 14 and you ended up in there with a young child. Like how did you make that transition? Was it like just a accumulation of all the events that you've gone through in your life that really gave you the strength to kind of just move on and get out?
No, I think it's just my son.
Your son
That's
was
it.
your
Yeah,
strength. Okay.
my son.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
want
You
him to be
embrace the
affected.
yes, yes.
Yeah, like how I
Okay.
was affected when my mom passed or what my mom went through. So I didn't want to put that on him. So I just like, let me just try to get it together. My son been with his grandparents for years since he was a baby, and I wanted him to at least give me a chance. I didn't want him to be introduced like how I was introduced to my mom and it didn't work out. I want him to at least give me a chance so he can make his own decision who his mom
Right.
is, how he feel. So I wanted to at least give him a chance.
So you wanted to break the cycle.
Yes.
Good. Um, so I have one more question for you. I don't know if any of these other ladies have any questions. Michelle or Levita, I don't want to take up the whole interview, but this is just such an interesting topic to me. I've been hogging everything.
It's
So if
okay.
you ladies want to unmute your mic if you have any questions.
Yes,
Michelle?
I have a question. What are the resources that the women out here can go to get help if they're trying to get out of the sex trafficking um, business? If they're trying to do that, where can they go for help?
They can start off with Polaris. Polaris is a known one for organization around the world. They are based out of Washington D.C. And my first thing would go to Polaris, and Polaris was direct you from what state you in, what city you in, and you can go from there because it's a lot of trafficking organizations in different areas. So it all depends. I will recommend them to start with Polaris, and that's a worldwide organization for trafficking.
Okay.
And I have one more. Now, was it really hard for you to leave? I mean, to leave that lifestyle, something that you knew all these years. Was it hard to leave?
It was hard to leave because I knew I was going to be a nobody. As I felt like I was a somebody in the game, in the trafficking game. So I knew that once I left and nobody didn't know me, I had to just go back to Natashia. And who was that? I was going by Shantae when I was out there. So it's like, Natasha, who is that? That's a no one. So that's the only reason why it was hard. It wasn't hard to leave for as far as like, and this is just my part. I don't know another survivor, another victim probably be hard because of their trafficker, abusive, or whatever the case may be. But by the time I left, I was a little bit on top of my game. So it wasn't hard to leave. Like my pimp was gonna kill me or anything like that. So no, more hard. It was me emotionally hard because I felt like I'm nothing. So what am I gonna do without this?
And I have a question for uh, parents out there that may not know what their children are doing and just say that they are in the sex industry. What are some signs to
It's
look out and
really, to
know?
be honest, I don't want to say it might be sign because the difference in your attitude or stuff like that. It's really not no signs. You just have to pay close attention to your children. You couldn't make up signs and say, oh, maybe their attitude changed or the way they dress no. I
Okay.
was getting trafficked and raped and stuff, and nobody didn't even know.
didn't
I
even
always
know
been the
it was.
quiet one in the family. I never said anything. I ain't never really do too much, and nobody never knew.
Can I ask a question? I would just like to know how many years did you participate in human trafficking?
I want to say 20 plus years, so like 25 years.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
And what would you tell young girls nowadays that may be involved in sex trafficking right now and they're afraid and they don't have anyone to talk to? How would you tell them what they should do or how they should get out of it? What advice would you give them?
Um, I would never give them the advice to get out. I want them to give advice to get out when they're ready. I know when somebody kept forcing me, the more you force me, the more I wanted to be in there. Because I wanted to say, what makes you different from being with him? So they have to find out something within them. Because some of them get caught up because they missing something at home, or they feel like this person loved them, or they want to follow the in crowd, so everybody else doing it, so they want to do it, or financially reason. It is so many different ways. So whatever specific reason they got into it is the specific reason they're going to get themselves out of it.
Okay, and I have a question. What are you up to these days? I know that you've written a book. So do you want to talk a little bit about the book?
Yes, I am a co-author called Voices from the Edge. And we all put, it was like, I want to say like 15 of us. This is the book, which you can find on Amazon. I think I want to say like 15 of us got together, and Miss Laura Brown got us all together, and we wrote stories about what we went through, or what we went through the pandemic. I chose to write about my story. I named my story Generation Curse of a Black Woman. The reason why I named it that, because when I became a survivor, I thought all Black women was prostitutes. We wasn't nothing but prostitutes. As I got a little bit more educated and found out that somebody did this to my mom. So now I'm starting to think, did somebody do that to my grandma, or my grandma before my grandma, and passed it down? Because I don't think my mom just woke up one day and was like, I think I'm going to turn my daughter out and abuse her and sell her and make her do all these things for money. I don't think so. So I just start digging deeper. I'm not the only Black woman in this world that ever experienced this. I'm talking about how many times that uncle came in our rooms, or a stepdaddy, or mom boyfriend, and that's how it all started. So my story talks about that, how it all started in the home. So I talk about how Black women, in my opinion, that we just been cursed generationally. I really believe that.
I
That-
agree. I agree. Hold your book up a little bit higher so the audience can see it. It's called Voices from the Edge, and they
yes.
can find this on Amazon. Also, give your a way that people can reach out and contact you. We're also going to put links below, but I want you to let everybody know, like, all your social media and how people can reach out to you.
Okay, so I am Natashia Shantae on Facebook, and I am Wilson Shantae 9 on Instagram. You can DM me. If you reach out to me for a book, I will personally sign it. But if you get it off Amazon, you will just get a regular copy. But I will personally sign it if you reach out to me and buy it from me. So this is my first time even writing. I was a little scared at first, because I was thinking like everybody's gonna read this and they're gonna say something. But then I thought about it, like I said, I feel like they're gonna talk about you anyway. Um, I'm not real religion, but however, God jumped in my life and been steering the wheel for the last 2 years, and that's how I ended up in this book. He was just like,
Congratulations.
um, say it on a platform. Keep talking about it on a platform. Keep reaching out. Keep talking about it. And that's what made me join the other ladies and write about it. I also talk about in this book how I broke the generational curse. I am the first person in my family to attend college and to graduate college.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Congratulations.
So I graduated with associate's degree in human services from Chattanooga State. Talk about that. I don't always want to talk about all the bad stuff that happened. I
Mhm.
want to also give women out there positive things. Yes, I was raped. Yes, I was abused. Yes, I was on drugs. Yes, I went to prison. But I accomplished a lot
You're a
from
survivor.
them.
You're a
Yes, from them
survivor. Yes.
experience. So
Yes.
I'm excited. I
And
am.
you're
I'm
getting a
excited.
lot of praise in the comments. I'm just going to go over a
Yeah.
few of the comments.
Oh,
We got
thank you.
Millie Bobby Brown says hello. And
Hi.
Connie Denny says greetings, Natasha. And Scott Hamilton says he's so sorry to hear about your story.
Oh,
Um, and Adine
thanks.
Paku says, Natasha, I really appreciate you for your courage.
Oh, thank you so
And she
much.
says you are doing a great job. We
Thank
got
you.
Osrin says, how in the world did you survive that?
Yeah.
Because I guess a lot of people are hearing your story and they're just like praising your strength and saying how did you overcome that? I have Tristan Elry is saying hello.
Hi.
Um, Tom Perry says hello. And
Hi.
then Howard Holly is saying that this trauma must have left a great deep scar on your mind.
Yes.
But you were able to overcome that. So that's a great thing. Laurelyn says that she's just trying to imagine how devastating that is for you. And we're all trying to kind of just wrap our minds around that, being from 14 to 33, that lifestyle and some of the difficult, that you have overcome. Oh my gosh. I mean, just praises to you for having the strength and the courage, and even just the strength and the courage to overcome it. Connie Denny again is asking, wow, you overcame your lifestyle. And someone else wanted to let you know that Howard Haley says it's not selfish that you wanted a child, that you really needed to feel that love. So there's a lot of people out here that are kind of like commenting and relating. Laurelyn Blurt says, do you have any advice to those who are suffering trauma from human trafficking?
Yes. Find what's best for you. I went through so many extensive trauma. I went through therapy. I went through. I even checked my own self in mental health in a hospital several times. I did hypnotize therapy. I did so many type of therapy, and at the end of the day, it's just something that I had to work on. So every day I get up and I say, Natasha, you're beautiful. You're a love. I'm so proud of you. That has been my therapy for me to overcome. I've spent so much time sitting on people's couch. It was not working because once I open my mouth and say I was trafficked or this what happened, this what happened, I look up, my therapist's mouth is open. I'm like, why are you shocked? You're supposed to be helping me. So I
Right.
had to learn what was best for me. So my advice for anybody that's going through some trauma, find what works for you and
Find
just
what
work
works
on
for
it
you.
every day. Find what works for you and work on it every day. I am 40 years old and I'm telling you, every day I have to get up and say, you are worth it. You are worth it.
That's right. That's right.
So,
Well, another viewer, Resume Calling, says she is the most bravest woman I have ever seen in
thanks.
my life, and I guess I have to echo that sentiment because I'm just really proud of your story, and I'm just so happy that you chose our platform to come and share your story. And
Thank
I
you.
hope that a lot of women really take some courage, a little ounce of courage that you had just to help them get through everyday struggles. And sometimes, we take small things and we look at them as a challenge. But then when we hear your life story, like, wow, how can we really worry about the small stuff? And Lawrence says, you are love your, thank you so much. And
Oh,
William Kincaid says, I appreciate your words. So you're getting a lot of love here in the comments.
thank you.
And I
I
want
did.
everybody out here to please support, go on Amazon, buy
Yes.
her book, please, Voices from the Edge. And in the links, make sure you follow her on all of her social media platforms, and make sure you share this post because we want people to to learn from her experience and to use her as a pillar of strength. So I just want to thank you so for taking time out your day, for reaching out to us, to
Yes.
share your story, because it's so good to hear encouraging stories. You know that
Yes.
you were in a dark place and you've come out and you're in the light and you're here and you're sharing your advice and everything, and you've written a book, and that's a big accomplishment. And so again, I want everybody to go out buy this book, because even if you haven't gone through that experience, we can use your strength to help us even get through the small challenges. So
Yes.
once again, thank you so much for having us.
Thank
Thank
you
And
for
you.
to
having
our
me.
viewers, yes, and thank you to our viewers for tuning in. And again, please follow H, share this video, share, and social media links, and buy the book. So if you don't already follow She's Successful, hit that follow button, hit that share page, and hit that like. Thank you. And until next time, guys. Thanks, Natasha.
Okay,
Thank
thank you.
you.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.